Joining me now is former Israeli ambassador to the United States, Michael Oren. Good to talk to you again tonight, Ambassador. What do you make of, just first on the release of these hostages today, what these people are coming home to, as so many of them are just now going to be able to find out about, the depths of the horrors on October 7th?
Good to be with you, Kaitlan. Indeed. And I think there's a marked contrast between the release of hostages to Israel and the release of Palestinian prisoners from Israeli prisons. First of all, you're talking about, on one hand, hostages, innocent people who were taken, separated from their families. In some cases, their families were killed, as opposed to people who were tried as accessories to terrorism, or people actually tried to carry out terrorist attacks and released. And they come home to Palestinian families that are celebrating. Our hostages are coming home to sadness. There's nobody rejoicing. Everyone is relieved that these people have been brought home. But as long as we have 170, 180 hostages remaining in Gaza, no one's going to be rejoicing tonight. And so there's a sense of that relief, but also of great tensions. And the tensions are just not of the families of the hostages. It's the families of the state entirely, because there's a tremendous risk being taken here. Clearly, Hamas is going to use this time to reorganize, to regroup, to set more booby traps. And the government is in the position of, on one hand, gaining a life of a hostage, but on the other hand, risking and perhaps losing a life of soldiers. And that's a grave risk. And also the long-term risk that if the pressures mount on Israel to agree to a longer ceasefire without a hostage release, then it could risk a situation where Hamas wins. Hamas gets away with mass murder, and Israel will not be able to restore its internal security. We have 250,000 people who have been removed from their homes, can't go back to their homes, because Hamas has promised, if it gets away with the mass murder, to try again and again. So it's full of risks, full of tensions. We're very happy these hostages are coming home, but it's far, far from the end.
Yeah. Well, and I should note, some of those Palestinian prisoners, they were held on no charges. They were being detained, but it wasn't clear what their charges were. But given what you just said, what President Biden said earlier that stood out to me, he said the chances are real, based on what he saw today, that this pause could turn into a longer ceasefire, could open the door for that. What do you make of that? Is that something that Israel's open to?
Yeah, Israel said that it would give an extra day of ceasefire for every 10 hostages released. I think that would be a good deal. But we can't delude ourselves. At the end of the day, Hamas is not going to release all the hostages, because that is their ultimate human shield. If Hamas were to release all the hostages, then we could proceed to, for example, flood the tunnels with seawater. That's what the Egyptians used to do, and do away with Hamas. We can't do that. So Hamas is always going to keep these hostages as its sort of get out of Gaza free card. And the end could be, ideally, something similar to what happened in 1982 in Beirut, when the Israeli army laid siege to that city, and the PLO under Yasser Arafat was evacuated from that city on ships. Okay, Hamas can go wherever the heck they want to go. They can go to Algeria, they can go to Libya, just give us all the hostages back. I think that was a deal that Israelis would accept. But barring that, the army is going to have to proceed with its stated objective of destroying Hamas.
Yeah, we'll see what the pressure internationally on that looks like, of course, still taking this a day at a time. Ambassador Michael Oren, as always, thank you for joining tonight.
Thank you, Kevin. Good night.